Hello, Patriot Nation. Today is February the 14th. Tonight, I'm going to try to keep this short and stick with some updates about what is going on in the Ukraine and the problems it's causing around the world, and the latest information on the Durham investigation that is looking to implicate Hillary Clinton and her campaign for all of the false information that was put out about the Russian collusion during the 2016 election. This is Patriot Nation. All right, ladies and gentlemen, one of the things that I am trying to do to be able to get you the latest intel and information in as real time as possible is I am starting to use my MeWe page a lot more throughout the day, and I am trying to do my best to post in as real time as possible any of that information that I am receiving to my MeWe, since I just don't have the ability to have the live breaking news updates through the video platforms that that I would be able to do if I was doing this full time. So please make sure that you subscribe and follow my MeWe page so that you can get the latest information in as real time as I am able to get it out to you. And I will try to go through and pull a lot of that information into these videos for those of you that aren't able to check that on a regular basis. I think it's going to be a helpful way for me to kind of organize a lot of information that I'll be talking about on this show into one place that I am not having to go through and make additional notes right as I'm doing the show. So we're going to try this out tonight, maybe for the next few nights, and we'll see how this format goes. And if you have any suggestions, please feel free to hit the comments down there. I'm always looking for constructive feedback, especially if there's information that you guys want to see me cover or things that you think that I don't need to cover. Again, feel free to put those down below. Trying to create the best show possible to get you guys the information that you need without having to spend dozens of hours out hitting hundreds of different sites to try to get the latest information. All right, so looking at my latest updates that I have found throughout the day, we've got some information here about how China has using black sites in the UAE to abduct dissident expats who have escaped from China and fled to the West. Reports by Sky News indicate Chinese intelligence officials have abducted and detained Chinese expats at various sites across the UAE and coerced them to spy on fellow dissidents, return them to China, or disappeared them altogether. Chinese intelligence agents reportedly contacted, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, Yiger, expats living in Europe, pretending to be associates or friends, and convinced the expats to meet up in Dubai or Abu Dhabi. When the expats arrive in the UAE, they are whisked away by Chinese intelligence agents to a black site where they were interrogated and ordered to spy on fellow dissidents or return to China against their will. In many cases, Chinese authorities attempted to coerce their targets by threatening the lives of family members still living in China. It's unfortunate that so much of this stuff is covered up because the CCP has infiltrated so many organizations and bought off so many other organizations, from the communist propaganda networks to Hollywood, a ton of celebrities to film companies, you know. And so this information is covered up, it's censored, it's hidden, and it's unfortunate. The Olympics are taking place there. There's a lot of stuff coming out about the way that the athletes are being treated if they test positive for COVID. Uh, it's truly is unfortunate. Um, there are numerous agents, including CISA, that are warning of possible cyber attacks by Russia. Again, it's always good to be prepared when you have infrastructure in place. So I'm not sure if this is another one of those scare tactics or false flags. There's a lot of, I'm not even sure, a lot of possible disinformation going out about what's going on over there right now in the Ukraine. You've got extremes from both ends. You've got some sources that are saying that nothing is happening and nothing is going to happen and that it's all false information and false intel being put out by the CIA and all the other, deep state operatives to try to, force this, this war or some other deep state agenda. You've got other levels of sources saying that, Russia is ready to invade and that, it could happen any day. There's stuff saying it's going to happen Wednesday. And, it's, I've seen kind of the memes and the information that, while funny, I agree with it, and that, there is no serious military operation that has ever taken place where the invading party has given their victims, if you will, the place that they're going to invade a day when they're going to do it. And so I think that the reality of the thing is that, we're somewhere in the middle. Yes, I think that, that there is a threat. Yes, I think that Putin is concerned about the fact that Ukraine was talking about joining NATO and that he's worried about having, possible adversarial forces on his doorstep and even closer. I've heard that there's a lot of deep state stuff in Ukraine. And we'll get to that a little bit more here as we go down. But I think that a lot of the information that is being put out, the spy photos and stuff, it's sad because so much of this stuff has been proven to be fabricated over the years that now we're in this situation, especially with all the stuff that's been happening the last couple of years, that it really does make you wonder how much of this information that we're being given is propaganda or is reality. And it's interesting because we have video from, protests all over this planet, whether it's up in Canada, whether it's throughout Europe. There's video of what's happening. There's video of the police, Gestapo coming into, in SWAT gear and potentially military folks coming in to, attack the Freedom Convoy up in Canada. We've always had video of military equipment being moved by, trains and trucks and staged places. But yet, the only video that we seem to see or pictures that we seem to get are all spy photography and reconnaissance photography of these buildups of Russian forces surrounding Ukraine. Now, I have seen myself by watching the flight tracking. I have seen the R-135s out doing reconnaissance. I have seen the Q-4 drones out doing reconnaissance. I've seen a number of other, military aircraft over in that area. There's a ton of, C-17 and C-130 traffic, going into areas around Ukraine. There's a ton of heavy lift going down into the Middle East. So there's obviously stuff taking place. There's obviously a ton of equipment being moved and pre-positioned. There have been a ton of charter flights coming in and out of the Ukraine. So it seems like all of the information about the rich and well-connected all evacuating out of there. I have seen, either through my own or through the stuff that MonkeyWorks has been producing on some of the government evacuation flights that are going out of Kiev. And so there's obviously stuff that is taking place. But it's odd to me that there hasn't been any, on the ground video of any of this stuff being moved around, and somebody hasn't snuck up to some hilltop someplace with a super long range lens and snapped some videos or pictures of this stuff. It's all spy agency reconnaissance that we're getting. So that bothers me. One of the things that, this is causing is it's causing, once again, we're having prices go up. We're most likely going to have supply shortages of stuff, a lot of fuel through, Europe and in through kind of some of the other, former Soviet states will most likely have supply issues over there. One of the things that I popped up earlier is that they're now talking aluminum shortages in addition to everything else. When you look at the stuff that's been going on between energy and labor disruptions in China and Europe, they're saying are going to affect production, which is really troublesome. One of the things that I talk about here, earlier today is, the thing that has been a glaring lesson from what's going on, especially the last few weeks, is that you really can't trust the government. You can't trust big tech. You can't trust doctors. You can't trust hospitals. You can't trust banks. You can't trust crowdfunding sites. You can't trust digital currency or transactions. You can't trust the communist propaganda network, because all of these things can be weaponized against you. And right now, they're being weaponized against all of us who are center or right of center, but it could easily be flipped the opposite direction. So all the liberal commie rats right now that are laughing at all of us because of them having control over this stuff, it doesn't take a whole lot for those things to be flipped around the other way. Because the mistake that most of these people are making is that they think that the people in power are on their side. And again, unless you're in that top 1% or less, and I'm guessing in reality it's probably the top 0.5% is really who is going to be the most safe in this situation. If you're a communist, one world government loving person and you're in the top 0.5% of the world's wealth, you're probably going to fare pretty well if this takeover of society continues. But for all of the rest of us, especially those of us that are in kind of the middle class and below, it doesn't matter whether you support this or not, they don't care. And so, when you're relying upon digital currency and digital transactions and all of these other places that have proven over the last couple of years to be compromised and unreliable, it's really been an eye opener to a lot of people. Can't talk about some of this stuff. We're going to scroll down here. I'm going to find the um, the real interesting stuff. Again, gas prices. We're going to be talking about a little more about the gas prices and stuff coming up. Um, a lot of people are, kind of been saying, why the Ukraine? And I found some of this interesting information that was put into a very nice little order here. And I haven't been able to take the time to verify a lot of this stuff. So I'll put the disclaimer up there that, this has not been independently verified, but I thought it was very well written, and I'm going to take it at face value for this conversation. Um, but it has a population of 43 million people and is about the size of the state of Texas, which is pretty darn large, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, Texas is huge. It's one of the largest countries in Europe. It's first in Europe in proven recoverable reserves of uranium ores. What is uranium used for? Second place in Europe and 10th in the world in terms of titanium ore. Second in the world in terms of explored reserves of magnesium. Second largest iron ore reserves in the world. Second in Europe in terms of mercury. Third in Europe, 13th in the world for shale gas reserves. Fourth in the world for total value of natural resources. Seventh place in the world for coal reserves. It's an agricultural country, so it's first in Europe in terms of arable land area, third in the world by area of black soil, and black soil is very fertile soil, and it's needed for farming. First in the world of exports of sunflower and sunflower oil, second in the world of barley, third largest producer and fourth largest exporter of corn in the world. This goes on. It's quite a long, lengthy list. It's up here on my MeWe, so you can go up and go through all of this. But as you can see, there are a ton of things in here that make this very valuable commodity. And there has been a lot of conversation about the fact that, the deep state is very heavily involved in Ukraine. And there has been talk of how Putin is at war against the deep state scumbags. And so it makes me wonder that if he's at war with the deep state scumbags, along with patriots here in the US and other places throughout the world, that if the fight isn't for control of land, it's not for retaliation about stuff. It's not going along with the narrative that the communist propaganda templates are talking about, and that it's actually part of this whole war against the deep state, the cabal, the one world government scumbags. It makes sense why they, want to have, why they want control of this country. I mean, the first couple things, all of these ores, especially uranium, have obvious uses. when you've got this much food that is being exported, especially to Europe, it gives them a very control oriented situation where they can, threaten uh, the ability to feed people throughout Europe. Especially, you got chicken, cheese, beef, wheat, potatoes, corn. 11th in the world in terms of rail network. I mean, this is a huge asset for the deep state. And if they lose control of that to a force that is working to destroy them, that would be a major loss, ladies and gentlemen. But when you look at the bigger picture of this, this is also causing a lot of unrest because there's a lot of unknown with what exactly is going to happen over here. Yes, it's possible that Russia can invade. Yes, it's possible that this could, lead to World War III. I think that the threat is real. I don't really think that Russia is going to start lobbing nukes over this. I think it's going to be a lot more with, conventional warfare and cyber warfare as far as further retaliations. But I think that the biggest risk and the biggest threat is going to come with price increases, especially when you start looking at fuel and more supply chain interruptions and issues involving getting goods. And you look at the stock market. The stock market is having been falling because of this whole thing. As tensions continue to rise, the stock market falls. You've got gas prices are on the rise for the sixth straight week, and they could be into record territory by the start of summer. As of today, the average price nationwide for a gallon of gas is $3.42. The national average is up 12.3 cents compared to a month ago, and 97 cents a gallon higher than a year ago. Now I know for where I'm located, gas is up about 30 some cents in the last month. And that's going to drive, again, gas is used by all sorts of industries. So again, prices have already been going up. If fuel prices go up again, prices of everything else are going to go up, and it's going to be that chain reaction. On average, we're already paying 40 to 50% more for things than we were under Trump. So Biden continues to spend like a drunken sailor to try to destroy the United States economy. Inflation is at a 40-year high. Prices of everything are skyrocketing. I have no doubt in my mind that there's going to be more supply chain interruptions and supply shortages and food shortages coming because of this. And remember, we've only got, I don't know what it is, another week or two of Olympics. And most likely, once the Olympics are over, China is going to exert its strength with Taiwan. And so there's most likely going to be another conflict taking place over there, which is going to further impact the supply chain. So, there's a lot of unrest that are going on, and I don't want to be a, Debbie Downer or, panic. Instill panic in anyone, but we need to start making sure that we're prepared for the what if scenarios, because there are a lot of a lot of plays on the board right now. There's stuff going on in the Middle East. You got stuff going on with Ukraine. You got stuff going on with China and Taiwan over in Asia. There's stuff down in the Philippines. There's all of the unrest up in Canada over these mandates. There's all of the unrest throughout, numerous countries throughout the world where people are protesting this stuff. Um, and then, and maybe I'll end here on a bit of good news. And we got the Durham probe is accelerating. More people are cooperating and coming before the grand jury. And the special counsel John Durham revealed Perkins Coyle, allies connected to Hillary Clinton's campaign, spied on Trump's internet traffic while he was president. According to Durham, Joffe and his associates exploited internet data from the executive office of the President of the United States to further their own political agenda. Durham investigators uncovered evidence that shows Hillary Clinton's team paid operatives to infiltrate the Trump Tower and then President Trump's White House servers to link Trump to Russia. So there is a lot of illegal activity that was committed by Hillary Clinton and her campaign during the run up to the 2016 election, and it continued after Donald Trump was elected as president. And it sounds like it even involved hacking into and compromising government networks to monitor Trump's communications and emails and data. And so I think that this pretty much ends any of the very small chance that Clinton had for thinking about running for 2024 or anything else as far as that goes. But I think this is probably one of the best shots that we've had in recent news that could actually lead her and probably a number of members of her campaign and associates be locked up. And I think that this is going to continue to go down the path of exposing a lot of the corruption and the conspiracy that has been talked about for the last couple of years. And the big question that everybody continues to have is, A, when is something going to be done about it? And B, when are we going to start seeing arrests? And I'm hoping that because of the fact that this information is now becoming public, that we are going to actually start seeing that information sooner rather than later. And there is a lot of other information that has been coming to light in regards to 2020, but unfortunately, since YouTube is still my main platform right now, I cannot discuss those things here because of the very gray area about their terms and policy violations regarding talking about any of that information, no matter how factual the information is presented or what sources are quoted while doing that or what disclaimers are given while I talk about. So I will not be talking about those things, but I know that all of you out there know exactly what I am talking about, and I encourage you to do your research, and you can find out exactly what has been taking place and the information that's being brought to light concerning that. So I encourage you all to keep an eye on my MeWe as soon as I see information or have any updates on what is taking place. I am going to try to get those posts to my MeWe page so that you can get those in real time, and then I will try to break them down and talk a little bit more about them and give you some of my opinion and my thoughts on them when I'm able to get a video put together and out to you. So I think that's going to do it for today. Stay prepared, stay informed, stay safe. For God and country, good night.